falling ever further behind him. Oh no! That's what we've been worried about.
Are you curious about the devastating power of one-punch knockouts?
Still firing back. Oh, a big left. Oh, a tremendous left.
Look no further than Julian the Hawk Jackson, who has left numerous opponents unconscious with his heavy-handed punches. This legendary fighter dominated the super welterweight and middleweight divisions during the late 80s and early 90s, instilling fear in his opponents and building an impressive reputation with each fight.
That's a real tragedy.
Jackson was born on September 12, 1960, in St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Islands. At the age of 14, he began boxing, but his amateur career was brief, with only 17 fights, of which he won 15. Jackson's natural strength was apparent from an early stage, and he distinguished himself from other amateur boxers with his punching power. His coach advised him not to exert himself too much while punching, as his natural talent would flourish on its own. On February 2, 1981, Julian the Hawk Jackson began his professional boxing career by defeating Inocencio Carmona in a 4-round bout. Over the next several fights, Jackson scored 5 stoppage victories and won on points in a 6-round match against William Page. Little did anyone know, this would be the last time Jackson would hear the final bell for quite some time. He went on to win another 11 fights, setting himself up for a shot at his first title, the WBC Continental Americas belt. Jackson defeated Ron Lee Warrior in 3 rounds and defended the title 4 times. Building an impressive record of 29-0, 27 knockouts. And earning a chance to fight for the WBA junior middleweight title against the division's top fighter, Jamaica's Mike the Body Snatcher McCallum. In the early stages of building his Hall of Fame career, McCallum was a skilled technician whose nickname originated from sparring in the renowned Kronk Gym. As an accomplished amateur, he had an unbeaten professional record of 26 fights and had faced opponents of a much higher caliber than Jackson. This experience gap would ultimately be a determining factor in their fight. Jackson started off strong, unleashing his powerful punches with lightning-fast hands. McCallum was caught off guard by the speed and power, leaving him with wobbly legs after taking Jackson's best shots. However, McCallum adjusted and entered the second round in control. His jab was crucial in keeping Jackson at bay, and he began connecting with clean shots. Eventually, a right-left combination sent Jackson down to the canvas. Though he got up, he was visibly shaken. McCallum seized the opportunity, relentlessly attacking Jackson until the referee intervened to prevent further punishment. Jackson protested, but the stoppage was deemed fair. Nevertheless, he learned from this loss and quickly bounced back to achieve his goal. When McCallum gave up the title and moved up to the middleweight division, Jackson was matched against Korean and Chul Beck to determine a new champion. Jackson had won 2 fights since losing to McCallum and was eager to redeem himself. Beck had only lost once in 42 fights, on points to Sean Mannion, and was known for his toughness. Jackson alternated between orthodox and southpaw stances, keeping the aggressive Beck off balance. A left hook sent Beck stumbling back, but the ropes kept him from falling, and a count was issued.
As we take a look at this replay, he just misses the right hand there. Now you'll see him, he gets banged right on the nose, and he stands again out, and he's all set to go. He's really off balance. Now will he try to finish it? That's right, he really took the wind out of things.
In the third round, Jackson decided to end it. A right hand rocked back before a combination, culminating with a powerful left hook, sent him to the canvas.
Set him up for these shots. Look at that left hook. And there's the left hook I was looking for. Now look at his arm.
Though he managed to get up, a final barrage prompted the referee to stop the fight. Jackson was now the WBA World Champion. For his first defense, Jackson faced former IBF title holder Buster Drayton. Drayton had been Marvin Hagler's chief sparring partner and had won the IBF crown late in his career, defeating Mark Metal. After two defenses, he lost it to Matthew Hilton in a 1987 fight. He was a very durable operator.
One big bomb has nearly caught the champ.
Jackson went to work on Drayton from the start, hammering him up and down like a butcher tenderizing meat.
Snapping back the head of Drayton.
A sharp right hand sent Drayton down in the second, giving the former champion a taste of the speed and power Jackson possessed.
Here's a look at that flash knockdown in round 2 scored by the...
In round 3, though, he felt the full wrath. Jackson let both hands go from the start, eager to bring things to a concussive end.
Grueling rounds these have been.
Suddenly, a big left hook exploded off the side of Drayton's jaw.
Still firing back. Oh, a big left in. Oh, a tremendous left.
His eyes rolled as he remained upright but unconscious. Stiff-legged, he fell slowly backwards, like a tree that had been cut down.
Ball. And look at Jack back and see it again. Straight, good, solid left hook.
As he hit the canvas, he became conscious again, but the fight was rightly stopped. It was a mesmerizing and breathtaking finish. Slick Brazilian Francisco de Jesus survived a second-round knockdown before being knocked out in round 8 in defense number 2. But Jackson's third and final defense raised his stock even higher. Young gun terrible Terry Norris was viewed as one of the best fighters in the division. His combination of speed and power had seen him record 21 wins from 23 fights. His only losses were a points won to Derek Kelly and a disqualification loss to Joe Walker. He would become one of the best fighters in the division's history, but on this night, he would become a victim to one of the most devastating punches ever thrown.
Very proud of the fact that Julian Jackson.
For 3 minutes, it appeared the title would change hands. Norris' speed allowed him to fire off combinations before sliding out of harm's way. Jackson tried to pin down the quick-footed challenger, but to no avail. But holding the equalizer meant that at any point the course of the fight could change in an instant. And Jackson still had 11 rounds to catch Norris. In the end, he didn't even need 3 minutes. Maneuvering Norris to the ropes, Jackson stepped forward to shorten the distance. Norris went to slide to the side, but left himself open for the briefest of seconds. Jackson crashed through with a thunderbolt of a right hand, instantly separating Norris from the outside world. The crowd gasped at the sound of the punch and watched in awe as the ropes held Norris up. Another crushing right sent him down and the fight was stopped.
Carrying a little bit, he just dropped it there a little bit and just gave enough.
Jackson's reputation was sky high. With no challenges left, he turned his attention to the middleweights and a second world title. Jackson had to take a break from his career for a year due to a detached retina, which used to be a career-ending injury but was now treatable. He won 2 fights, one of which was a brutal 4th-round knockout of Wayne Powell.
Oh, there's a right hand. He won't get up from that. And pushing him off. Wild with the left hand. There's the right hand right there. And it just...
which prepared him for a chance at the vacant WBC title against the elusive and often avoided Harold Bomber Graham. The words unorthodox and elusive could have been created specifically for Graham. His style had been compared to that of a limbo dancer on occasion. Graham had only lost twice in his 45 fights, and those 2 losses were against world champions Sumbu Kalambe and Mike McCallum. Both losses were extremely close, particularly the defeat to McCallum, which was for the vacant WBA crown. Even then, both champions struggled to land punches on Graham as he countered with accurate and solid punches. Style-wise, this couldn't have been a more challenging situation for the former junior middleweight king.
Joe Cortez is the ref because he's been on television.
For the first 3 rounds, Jackson found himself in the same position as many fighters before him, repeatedly missing punches while taking punishment in return.
And Jackson is hurt and through the ropes almost and in desperate trouble. Something is definitely wrong with Jackson's left eye.
His left eye was nearly swollen shut, and his chance of winning was slipping away quickly. The ringside doctor allowed Jackson 1 more round to turn the fight around. Graham sensed that the long-awaited title was within reach, but this anticipation caused him to abandon his strategy. He began to push Jackson back, putting himself in a dangerous position. And then it happened. Backed into a corner and under attack, Jackson instinctively threw a right hook.
Further behind him. Oh no!
The punch landed perfectly on Graham, knocking him out cold. He fell backward toward the canvas with his legs folding under him. Graham lay motionless for 4 minutes before Jackson could celebrate his incredible victory as the new WBC middleweight champion. This has become one of Jackson's most famous knockouts.
And Jackson is hurt.
Jackson, now known as the hardest hitter in the sport, was included in the list of the best pound-for-pound boxers.
Because I feel a shock all the way up to my elbow. And whenever I feel that shock, I know it's over.
He continued his destructive form with 2 first-round victories in his first 2 title defenses. Dennis Milton was counted out after a single powerful right hand.
And down goes Milton. He does not look like he is going to get up. He looks like
While Ismail Negrin was sent to the canvas with a sweeping left hook.
who's had a bit of an out career, and that might be it. The left hook. Jackson.
Slick Ron Collins bravely took his share of numbing shots before being stopped in the 5th round of the 3rd defense.
He hits him again. All he do is hang on. If he just stays there, guy that counts up to 5 and 6 and 7. That's it. The referee decides to stop the fight.
However, Thomas Tate went further than anyone else, surviving a 4th round knockdown to last until the final bell and lose by unanimous decision. This was the first time in 10 years that Jackson had needed the judges' scorecards. However, he was unable to attract the biggest names in the sport to fight him, so he turned his attention to the other dangerous fighter in the division. This man, with a record of 27-2, had knocked out 25 of his opponents and was blowing away opponents in the same way as Jackson. Gerald McClellan was also a fighter from the Kronk Gym. He had long arms and was a dangerous puncher. He previously held the WBO title, which he won by knocking out John the Beast Mugabe in the 1st round, but he gave it up to go after the more prestigious WBC title. At 25, he was 7 years younger than the current champion. When 2 knockout artists face each other, the anticipation is unmatched. Everyone's eyes are fixed on the action, afraid to blink and miss that one devastating punch that is both inevitable and awe-inspiring. When the first bell rang in this fight, the entire boxing world held its breath. Both fighters showed immense respect for each other's power. McClellan threw the first punch, a chopping right that caused the champion's knees to buckle.
In a hurry, as you can see, there's nice, good organized. Now watch that right hand, and that's what got him right hand crazy. That right hand put.
There it is, a big right hand. McClellan's waiting with the.
However, Jackson reminded the challenger of his own knockout power by stunning him with a big left hook. McClellan then backed off, waiting for the right moment to strike again.
He doesn't pay as much attention to defense. It's gotten to be a little more chess-like.
The next few rounds were a tense game of cat and mouse, with Jackson scoring points with his fast combinations.
You can't just flick an idle
In the fourth round, McClellan increased his output and hurt Jackson with long right hands. The action was heating up when the inevitable happened. The fight ended suddenly and explosively.
And he needs all the strength he can get. Nice shot by Julian.
As he goes upstairs, no chance of Southie there. Julian gonna win it right here. Down goes Jackson.
McClellan threw a straight right that took the strength from Jackson's legs.
Let's watch what happens. There you go.
The soon-to-be former champion started to fall back and was caught with a long left hook that sent him crashing to the canvas.
Just what he's
Jackson bravely rose to his feet, but McClellan smelled blood.
right this minute. And there's a minute left to go.
Can McClellan finish him off? He's down again.
Another right hand sent Jackson down to all fours, and the referee waved off the fight, signaling the end of Jackson's title reign.
It's over.
Bill's Wayne has stopped the fight.
However, he would later get the chance to win back his belt and avenge his defeat. The rematch between Jackson and McClellan, which took place almost a year after their first fight, was expected to be explosive. However, in his warm-up fights, Jackson seemed to be slowing down, winning the first two by stoppage, but struggling to go the full 10 rounds against an unknown fighter named Eduardo Ayala. McClellan, on the other hand, defended his title twice with first-round wins. Jackson never expected that the rematch would end up being so one-sided.
Jackson average under. McClellan's come out with a real good jab. Oh, a big right hand.
Right off the bat, Jackson's in dire trouble. McClellan looking to finish him up seconds into the fight.
McClellan dominated the fight from the beginning and knocked Jackson out with a powerful left hook to the body after only 73 seconds.
Jackson can punch.
It appeared to be the end of Jackson's title aspirations. However, fate intervened, and when McClellan moved up to a heavier weight class and vacated the title, Jackson found himself in line for another chance to win back his old belt. In the opposite corner stood unbeaten Agostino Cardamone. In his prime, Jackson would have been a heavy favorite, but times had changed and he was no longer the fighter he once was. Cardamone was not known for his power, but he beat up and hurt Jackson throughout the opening round. However, once again, Jackson's power proved to be decisive when a thumping right hook knocked Cardamone down and out in the second round. Jackson was once again the WBC champion. But this time his reign would be brief. Challenger Quincy Taylor, who was known for being Sugar Ray Leonard's primary sparring partner for his bout with Marvelous Marvin Hagler, beat down the shell of the once feared Hawk,
He doesn't seem to have the tremendous respect. Oh, the left hand got good.
knocking him down before stopping him in the sixth round. It should have been the end of Jackson's career, but he persisted.
Pretty well and goes down in 10.
Ford in a heap of trouble. And when
He won his next two fights on points, evidence of his declining power, before scoring 2 stoppage victories. Those would be the last wins of his career.
Garcia, big right look like it's going to go, does it? Julian Jackson, the Hawk, getting after Lalo Gutierrez, puts him down with a body.
He lost 2 consecutive fights, both being stopped in the 9th round, to junior middleweight contender Verno Phillips, and then to former world title contender Anthony Jones, before finally calling it quits at the age of 37. His last record was 55 wins with 6 losses, 49 wins by knockout. In 2003, The Ring magazine ranked him as the 25th hardest puncher in boxing history, a place that no doubt would have been higher had he beaten one of the sport's more illustrious names. In his retirement, Jackson became a minister and kept his involvement in boxing as a trainer. His 2 sons, Julius and John, are both world-ranked fighters. Though fans appreciate the skill of a wonderful boxer, there is nothing that quite captures the imagination than a man who has the power to simply render an opponent unconscious with one thunderous blow. For a period, Julian Jackson was that man. His place in history is secure.